guys, welcome back to Strong Successful Male. So for today in the Ask SSM video series, I'm going to do an update to a video I did a couple weeks ago, which was titled, My Friend Needs Help, His Wife Manipulated Him into an Open Marriage. And in case you guys didn't see that video, as a quick recap, that was about a guy who wrote into me and he was asking for my advice on helping him RP a friend of his. Turns out his friend is married to a complete and total controlling, manipulative effeminist, the type who changes her hair color every week, who bosses him around, her way or the highway, and he is a complete and total whipped puppy. Totally pee-whipped. But this guy, this friend of his, has redeemable qualities. He really likes him, likes hanging out with him. They have things in common, but just he sees the way that this guy's wife pushes him around. This guy puts her on the pedestal. She literally gives him permission to hang out with this dude, amongst many other things. He waits on her hand and foot. And this isn't a case where, she's a good wife to him, therefore he's a good husband to her. No, she treats him like shit. And to make things worse, he found out eventually that this guy's wife, to no surprise given the world we are in, proposed or pretty much told him that we're going to have an open marriage. So she's out hooking up left and right. Meanwhile, he's at home watching the kids. And if I'm not mistaken, this guy hasn't been hooking up with any women. It's just her doing that. So this guy wanted my advice to help him out. Ideas about videos and things like that, and what do I think he should do. And I told him, for you guys that saw this, I said, it's a tough situation because he's a friend, you like him, but by you telling him there's a problem here, and by the way, he could tell this guy's unhappy. I'll make that clear. By you bringing this up to him, you could lose him as a friend. And be aware of that, because a lot of guys, we have egos, we have pride, and we don't want to hear that we're messing up. Or guys don't want to hear that their lady is treating them like crap. They're so, they have the Stockholm syndrome, if you will. They don't want to believe it, and they just buy into the whole narrative. So I told him about that. So we're going to follow up as to what happened since. And let me tell you, it's quite interesting, and it's not going to surprise any of you how this thing goes down. So he starts off, he says, hey SSM, file this under no good deed goes unpunished. Just by reading that, I was like, yep, it's usually how it works. I emailed you a couple weeks ago about a friend who I thought me primed for some good RP videos, and asked you to recommend some links, yours and others, that I might send him to open his eyes and at least get him to start questioning the way he has sacrificed his own happiness to that of his selfish, manipulative, controlling wife. Anyway, your commenters had a lot of interesting thoughts on how to do it, which I will address in a little bit. Fairly soon after I sent you the last email, Bart, my friend, and I had scheduled a run to a nearby town to pick up some custom furniture that I'd commissioned. Before that trip could happen, we were hanging out with some buddies, and Bart and another guy started singing the praises of single moms and hot women over 40. Okay. I'm sure you did your best not to burst out laughing in that moment. He says, I'm not stupid. They were trying to urge me down the road they've taken. I said, now listen to what he says here. This is brilliant. He says, a beaten dog will settle for scraps and leftovers, but as a beaten dog, that's all he'll ever get. Yep, pretty much. This guy, his friend, and I'm sure this other guy he's talking about, are whipped puppies. They're beaten down. They're worn down. And it's unfortunate that men let themselves become that way, but so many do. That's why I do what I do on this channel. Anyway, he says, that sort of ended that conversation. We went on to other things, and I thought nothing more of it. A couple days later, Bart messaged me and told me he couldn't come with me on that furniture trip because my wife has plans for us that morning. So, aside from all the many other things about his wife, she's also his social director. I'm sure his wife probably doesn't like him hanging out with this dude because I'm sure this guy who's pee-whipped opens his big mouth all the time and blabs about what they talk about, what they do, because I'm sure she digs it out of him, and probably in a sense to appease her. I don't know if it was him who decided or if he told his wife what I said and she told him he couldn't go, but I had no doubt it was the result of what I said. More than one of your commenters suggested I hook him up with some hot girls, as he's been asking me. And he says, remember, his wife had talked him into an open marriage. He'd asked me, and I even thought that even if it wouldn't get him close to the RP, it would provide me with some amusement. So the next time we hung out together, I took him to a country nightclub that I frequent, and I coached him into approaching a few women. There was one regular that I knew was a bit of a carousel rider whom I steered him towards. She was always scantily clad, she had a face stunning enough to stop traffic, and she had one nuclear body. I may not have mentioned, Bart's a good-looking guy, as far as I can tell. And he says, I don't spend a lot of time worrying about what women find attractive. And as I suspected, she glommed onto him, and after grinding him hard on the dance floor, she took him home to her spider's web. Well, there are pros and cons to this situation here. The pro is he's finally getting some action because his wife's getting plowed by many dudes in town. And it could maybe help him see there's other things out there, and quite frankly, he deserves it. The con is that this guy obviously is not capable of keeping his mouth shut and probably won't be able to handle the attention from her. And if she's a pro carousel rider, we don't want our friend here to catch something physically or catch attachment to someone like this. But anyhow, the next day, he couldn't stop talking about the previous night. I should also mention this girl was hotter than his wife by several orders of magnitude. Let's remember this, guys. This woman, hotter than his wife. This is going to come back in this story. And you all know what happens with women, ex-girlfriends or whatever, find out that their former guy, or guy, if they're doing an open thing, is with a woman better looking than them, or younger. Now here's where my payback comes, or my punishment. I mentioned in my last email how I wanted to RP Bart, but I may have overstated how invested I was in this prospect. In the end, I usually let people live their lives and don't care much to interfere. With Bart, I was interested up to the point of sending him a few links, answering any questions he had, maybe introducing him to a few girls. I was not interested in getting much more involved than that. I certainly wasn't interested in getting pulled into a big drama like what was about to happen. And gentlemen, get your popcorn, crack open your beer, because we are about to have some serious drama. In the middle of the day, a couple days after Bart's big night out, someone came knocking at my door. Who could that be? I usually don't answer the door unless I'm expecting someone, and he says good news rarely comes to your door unannounced, so as usual, I ignored it. Just about everyone in my circle of friends knows I'm a pretty wealthy guy, a pretty wealthy novelist, and work from home. This person clearly did too, and the knocking persisted until I finally answered. More out of irritation than interest. It was Mandy, Bart's wife. Gee, never saw that coming. I wonder why she's there. I don't think she's delivering a basket of fruit or some kind of gift. She was clearly angry and tried to step in, but I didn't move and she ran up against me. This clearly shocked her and pissed her off more. And she actually had the gall to put a hand on my stomach and try to push me back out of her way. I didn't move. She took a step back and I could see in her eyes that she was angry. Yes, but also confused. I'm willing to bet she rarely, if ever, got any resistance from anyone, least of all men. So she comes on your property unannounced, banging on your door until you finally come to the door, pissed off, and then tries to force her way into your house. You know, there's parts of this country, certain states, that if someone came onto your property unannounced and tried to force their way into your home without your permission, well, let's just say people could, in a way, handle things as they see fit to protect themselves. She's lucky she didn't go to someone else's place. No one has the right to try to force themselves into your home. She said, I want to talk to you. I just looked at her. In my head, I thought, well, then talk. She then screamed, where the F do you get off? I saw this was going to be one of those scenes women like to make, so I stepped back and motioned for her to come in. This was to spare my neighbors a spectacle, but also one other very good reason, which I'll explain later. What you're going to see, guys, is if he didn't have his other reason, which you'll see, never invite someone like this into your house. Honestly, what he should have done is said, get the fuck off my property. No sooner had I shut the door than she laid into me verbally. She was pissed about some of the things I've been saying to Bart. Yes, he'd been telling her. And pissed about the girl, the one from his big night, who was texting him at all hours. It appears one of their ground rules was they were not allowed to develop a relationship with any of their partners. It was supposed to be sex only, nothing else. I asked her if she never texted any of the guys she slept with, and while admitting she did, she insisted it was nothing more than harmless flirting. So, let's talk about these rules. who set the rules for this open marriage? You know, who made these rules? Do you think he was an active participant in the rulemaking of this, or do you think she dictated the rules? I'm willing to bet all the money I have right now in all my accounts that she dictated all the rules. And notice how it's okay for her to text the guys, and I'm saying guys as in multiple guys that she's having relations with, but he can't do it. But remember, this woman is better looking than his wife, and probably younger. Look at the reaction. I flat out called her a liar, and she was flabbergasted. First, I imagine because I said it so calmly, all of her shouting had raised my blood pressure, but I showed her none of it, no emotion at all. But also because I had the audacity to say it at all. She launched into a barrage of personal attacks that I have to admit I couldn't help but laugh at. He says in parentheses, how can you take anything like that personally from someone who doesn't even know you? Which only riled her up even more, to the point that she kept stepping up into my face. Each time I refused to budge, and she had to step down again, which also seemed to fuel her rage. In point of fact, I don't think this entire encounter was going the way she imagined, and it was nothing that she had any way to cope with at all. So in other words, she's exploding and throwing a tantrum and insults, and she's expecting you to react in the same type of way she has to give her what she wants. Drama. They feed on that fuel. But if you remain calm, never notice this, guys? You got to understand something. I've compared women to children many times with emotions and tantrums and throwing fits and making no damn sense. If you had a little kid throwing a tantrum at you, if you reacted in the same way to that kid, throwing a tantrum back and yelling and screaming and stomping your feet, how would that go? Would they respect you anymore? Would they see you as someone that's an authoritative above them? No, they'd see you acting like another stupid kid. So why do you act that way with women? And you all know, you relationship guys have been in this. You had times, even the guys have the best of relationships. Your wife or girlfriend might lose it every once in a while. If you respond like that, it's not going to go well. You got to be calm and keep your center, and not do the same thing, because otherwise it makes it worse. And also, when somebody's yelling and screaming, they want you to do that back, but you remain calm and essentially look at them like they're a freaking childish moron. Makes their blood boil even more. But it's tough. It's tough when somebody's yelling and throwing a fit, because you can feel your blood boiling and you want to yell back. You want to say and do a lot of things, but you got to remain calm. That's how you win. Eventually, she had to wind down. No one can keep that level of rage up forever, especially when I was giving nothing back to feed on it. See? Women need you to argue with them so they can twist your words and gaslight you. If you say nothing, they have no ammo. She was just looking at me with hate. Then her face softened, and she said something to me that should have floored me, but I did. She said, listen to this, guys. She says, after all her yelling and she calmed down, "Are you as turned on as I am right now?" What? Yes, she was among my types. Physically, petite, cute, just a bit of chubbiness without being fat, but her personality and attitude made her as ugly as any hag. That and the hardware hanging all over her face. And finally, she was my friend's wife. Open marriage or not, I was so shocked at her suggestion, I had to laugh. An explosive gaffe right into her face. In other words, she's acting like she's turned on by this whole thing, this open marriage, and now is putting the moves on this guy. Now, in my opinion, I think she is changing tactics. I maybe that turned her on, but I think she was changing tactics to try to put the moves on this guy, have him respond, and then she could then go back and tell her husband. That's what I think is going on here. Maybe she was attracted to him. Maybe that turned her on. I don't know. But that my gut tells me this was a changing tactic so she could win, because yelling and screaming wasn't getting her anywhere. That didn't go over well. She went to punch me in the face, but I've been in more than one brawl in my life and have pretty good reflexes. Plus, it was a girl. I easily deflected it. Then she ran from the house in tears. Holy shit, dude. Went to punch. You rejected her. She went to punch you in your house. And then you got out of the way, and then she ran away in tears. Someone rejected her. Maybe she was a little bit turned on when to put the moves on you, but I still stick to the tactic of obviously trying to come out on top. He says here, I never did get the chance to tell her my thoughts on what she was doing to my friend, which I really would have liked to do. But that kind of woman doesn't listen, so it would have been a wasted breath anyway. It would have. As soon as she was gone, I checked the cloud where videos recorded both my indoor and outdoor security cameras were stored. This was why I invited her into the house, to get as clear a record of her meltdown as possible. You see, I'm never alone with any woman without at least audio recording it all, if not video, and this was no exception. The video was there and as clear as day. I saved it and backed it up. Then I closed the app and determined never to hang out with Bart again. Not at least until he gets out from under the thumb of that harpy. I don't expect any more updates. We'll see about that, brother. But if there's any more fallout from my ill-advised involvement with these two, I'll be sure to let you know. Meanwhile, my hope is to steer clear of this entirely. Wow. I wasn't expecting that in the update when you emailed that over, dude. Well, very smart of you recording the whole thing, and obviously that's why she was invited in the house. Now you have proof of her insanity, and that may come back. You may need that down the road. But bro, I'm going to say this. In the last video, you wanted some advice, to help. Well, you should help what you can do. Should you do anything? At this point, man, I would cut all ties with this dude. And for two major reasons. The first one is that this guy, he freaking blabbed to his wife, obviously, about you and your involvement and taking him out and probably plenty of things you said. Okay? That's not a friend. All right? He is a whipped bitch. Okay? It'd be one thing if he made, live the lifestyle he does, he's hurting and doesn't want to hear what you have to say and all that. But it's another thing if you're trying to help him or talk to him and do things in confidence, and he goes home and blabs to his wife. And obviously to try to please her. That shows how pee-whipped he is. I gotta be honest with you guys. I cannot, at this point in my life, knowing what I know, hang out with people I don't respect. Okay? Especially pee-whipped men. Okay? Especially given what I do. I'd rather have just a couple friends that I respect, have my back, all that, than have lots of people that I don't respect. And as I get older, I'll admit I'm picky. It takes a lot for me to gain respect for someone. But this guy deserves no respect. And threw you under the bus like that and blabbed to her, that's not a friend, not cool, and you don't need that. And number two, look at the drama this guy's bringing into your life. You were there at home, mind your own business, doing your thing, and she shows up on your property, tries to force her way and scream and yell and all that. I mean, you don't need this bullshit in your life. I'm trying my best to help you guys have great lives, become the best you can be, do well, and have it be drama-free. Because there's enough bullshit out there that we all have to deal with on a daily basis that we don't need more of it in there. And friendships should be a great thing, not bringing turmoil into your life. And this guy, his wife, is bringing turmoil. So I'd say I would have nothing to do with him anymore. And obviously if it comes up, I say, look, bro, after this thing, that's it. We're done. One, she came over here. And two, I can't trust you. You threw me under the bus. You blabbed, all that. Not cool. That's not a friend. Wish you the best. And maybe, just maybe, if you see enough redeeming qualities in this guy, the only reason I would give him a chance back in your life, one chance, would be is if those two split up. And I mean permanently split up. And it had to be his decision, not her dumping him and he's going to be pining for her and all that. Also, I'm talking he was worn down enough that he finally saw the light and he ended with her. And then he's looking to rekindle and he's apologetic towards, his ways and throwing you under the bus and stuff like that. That's the only way. Otherwise, there's just going to be more bullshit in your life. And you don't need that, man. Seriously. It's better to be alone than bring all this shit in your life. And I get that nobody's perfect. I'm not perfect, but I don't behave in a way that, in my opinion, is going to have people have a lack of respect for me in terms of just genuine manners and respect and all that. I got people who don't like me because of my views. Like I mentioned in the other video, I lost 2 friends because of this channel. Dudes I've been friends with for years. Hung out with, been to my place, been to their place. Know their families, trained hardcore martial arts for 6 years, multiple times a week, blood, sweat, and tears, beating the shit out of each other. But they at least I thought, were great guys, but they are married guys, daughters, all that, and don't want to hear it. And just when they found out about what I did, completely cut me off, just like that. It's unfortunate, but it's not going to mean I'm going to stop doing what I'm doing. Not a chance in hell. So you learn through these things who your friends are. So I'd have nothing to do with this dude at this point, and I would simply move on. So guys, many of you guys out there who watched this video, the first one, and obviously may have friends that obviously are in trouble and turmoil, this is an example of what could happen if you get involved. Be aware, in one form or another, you could lose that friend, or a lot of turmoil and drama can be brought into your life. So really question whether you want to get involved. But a real friend will help another one out, but it could be a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation. Just be aware of it. So, all right, guys, that is it for today. Be sure to comment down below. Let me know what you think about this. Let this guy know what you think. And bro, like you said, you don't think there'll be any other updates. Something tells me it ain't over with this crazy broad. And if there is more drama to come, if you feel like doing it, by all means send it. I'm sure the audience would like to hear it. In fact, guys, if there is any more drama that goes on with this little firecracker, let him know. Let this guy know you'd like to hear an update if things get interesting down the road. And if you do, I guarantee he'll send it. And be sure to like the video, share with your friends, and subscribe. And I'll catch you next time.